Welcome, guys. This is our first Gustavo Cup podcast. We know none of you asked for it, but hopefully, as we progress through the season, you all become fans. We are your host, Ian Siddiqi, and the lovely
Sean Ballek.
John Ballek, ex-California native, now Texas resident. I think the only way to start this off right is to talk about what we're drinking today. Midday. It is not even 1 p.m. yet in California on a Thursday, but we're going to start it out right. So I'm drinking a little bit of tequila. And Ballek, what you got over there?
I am drinking a pale ale from Zilker Brewing Company. It's Parks and Rec Pale Ale. Cheers,
Nice.
brother.
Cheers. Cheers. Goes in the bottom drawer.
I can see the facial expression on that one.
That was rough. I haven't been doing too much drinking lately, so that was a little rough. But that's gonna loosen things up, and hopefully we can make it through our inaugural Gustavo Cup podcast.
Yep, let's do it.
Absolutely. So I'll send it off to you. I know that you have some talking points that you want to go through to start things off.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through a quick league history and kind of introduce everybody that's in the league and what they've done in the league so far. Let's start it out by league started in 2010. Relegation officially started in 2013. Our first two people relegated were Sean Groves and Eric Corbett. If you don't count us giving Francisco Alcala the boot for not paying his dues. We have the current people in the league. We have Nick Lance, who's been champion 5 times. Myself, Sean Ballek, who's been champion twice. And Ralph Jackson, who's been champion once. And then we have Mark Amundsen, who's been champion. He's filling in for James Brow due to his untimely passing. R.I.P. Bizzo.
Rest in peace, Bizzo. We miss you.
And then other members of the league, we got Stephen Wiggins. His best finish is second. He's been relegated 1.5 times. The halftime is because we gave him a pass because he hosted the draft even when he wasn't in the league. We got Sean Mishloff, whose best finish is second. Mike Medina, whose best finish is second. Kyle Kiesel, whose best finish is second. We got you, Ian Siddiqi, whose best finish is third, and you have been relegated once.
It was a rough year. Rough year.
Yep. We got Jeremy Ocella, whose best finish is fourth and has also been relegated once. We got Mark Bridge, who this is his first season in the league. He was Steven's co-manager last year. And then we got Evan Fothergill, who is his first year in the league. Got a reference from Bizzo and then submitted the video application. Couple honorable mentions. We got Dustin Burke, 3-time champ. Eric Corbett, 1-time champ. I already mentioned Mark. And then we got Josh Van Gundy, who's been relegated 3 times. Sam Scruggs, who's been relegated 3 times. Greg Bridgman, who's been relegated once. Chris Jensen and Mike Kiesel, who have been relegated once. And Sean Groves, who's been relegated once.
Oh, okay.
There's a breakdown of the league history and
solid breakdown.
Basically all of Nick's championships.
Correct. And if I believe this is our 14th season, 13th season.
I'd have to go back and actually count them. We started in 2010. This is the 2013 year, so I think it's.
Yeah, we're in those teen years, right? We're past preteen. We're definitely in the teen years.
We're definitely in the teens.
Yeah, decade plus doing this. Which makes me feel fucking old.
Yep, that we are. That we are.
Absolutely, awesome. So thank you, Ballek, for that wonderful history. I think that there's a couple of things that we definitely want to go through in this inaugural podcast. The first are our matchups, right? Week 1 matchups. It's game time, guys. We have obviously first game tonight, Chiefs versus Lions. We'll dig into that a little bit. But
I'm looking at Mark versus Mike. So Mark is let's get Gibby with it, and Mike is make Gustavo Cup great again. Mark has the second highest projected point total, and Mike had the fourth highest projected point total when I was looking at him earlier today.
yeah, Mark
Um,
with the first overall pick in this year's draft was able to nab Jefferson. Uh, it's got Herbert at QB. Solid talent up and down the lineup. You can look at Mike's team as well. A solid team starting out with uh Derrick Henry at running back, Tua at QB, got some solid talent at wide receiver, and probably understatement is his depth. Has a ton of depth on his team as well. What do you like when you look at this matchup?
I mean, I like you got two. You got Mark's team anchored by Jefferson, and then he's got Herbert, which it looks like he has a big advantage in those two positions. And then you got Mike, who went high T with three, starting out with three running backs. He's got Henry, Aaron Jones, and Tony Pollard. So both of them have a big explosive potential here, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup to keep up with. Because you look at Mark's team, he also has. I mean, he punted tight end. He's got Yeah, he's got. I mean, he's got good depth, but like I said, punted tight end, and I think Mike really has a chance to get him here, get an upset.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to pick the winner of this matchup for the week, which we're going to do every week during the podcast, who do you like in this matchup to win it?
I I'm gonna go with Mike. Actually, I think some of his players are gonna have big weeks. He's got Keenan Allen to kind of counteract that Herbert, and then yeah, I think he's got a lot of good matchups this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree. While I do like Mark's team a lot, riding on that Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert wave, personally, I think he should have incorporate the dual Justins in his name. But I don't mind. Let's get Gibby with it. But I mean, like Justin squared, twin Justins would have been cool to see. But I'm also going to go with Mike. I think that his running back dual combo is definitely going to pay well for him. I like Tua, that high powered offense down in Miami. It's going to be cool, and it's going to be really cool for them to actually see their quarterbacks going head to head in week one, right? So I think
Yeah,
ultimately whoever performs in that Chargers Miami matchup is going to tell dividends or pay dividends ultimately for who wins that matchup.
yeah, and then I mean, a fun thing to watch for tonight. You got Mark has Jameer Gibbs out there going up against Kansas City tonight, starting it off early for him. So that'll be fun watching the rookie who's really explosive.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Mark was going to give Gibbs the go, if he was going to let him go out there and start today against that KC defense with all the bright lights opening day. But I
He
don't
had
mind it.
to. He
Yeah,
took
I
him
mean
too
you have
early.
to.
He's got to give him. He's got to run with him.
Exactly. It's if you're gonna spin, what do you get him in the third round?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're gonna spend the third round pick, you got to start the young fella there. So good to see that he's got Gibbs in the lineup tonight. Going to be exciting to watch. Awesome. So let's look at some of our other matchups. One particular matchup that I'm super excited about is going to be uh, we got Wiggins going against Nick, right? Perennial champion, Nick. Uh, you know, one of obviously the best player in our league, five-time champion. I think he had a really solid draft. And then Wiggins, according to Yahoo, probably had the best draft out of all of us. According to the numbers, we know the Yahoo can be a little deceptive with that, but definitely with Mahomes, Chubb, Kittle at tight end, even Madison at that flex. Solid overall team for Wiggins. And of course, Nick, he's ridden the coattails of Lamar Jackson several times to pay dirt. to championship land. I love Barkley. After an injury 2 years ago, coming back, I had him on last year's team. Really rode him to deep into the playoffs last year. And I think he's going to have another stellar year. Also love CD Lamb. Just who else is Dak going to throw it to? So overall, I'm really excited for this matchup. What are your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, this is a great matchup. The half a point between the projected totals. Like you said, Nick's team is just solid up and down. While we were drafting, I was watching him make picks, and when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I like other guys more, and I like other guys less, or whatever. And so that's what I was thinking. But he went out and got his guys, and his team is just balanced and deep. It he did an outstanding job. He's probably got my favorite team out of the draft. And then we got Steven. He's going to be anchored by Mahomes and Nick Chubb. Uh, Steven always a crapshoot with how he's going to do. That Kittle injury, he's listed as questionable. I don't know. That would scare me quite a bit, especially without another tight end on the roster. But we'll see how it goes. Kittle's one of those players where if he comes out and has a season he's capable of, he could be a league winner.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know that with the addition of CMC, that's definitely opened things up for Kittle. We saw what he did in the playoffs last year um, with the combo of him and Purdy. Absolutely was sensational towards the end of the year. So let's see if they can continue to ride that wave as we start this new season. But as you said, injury is definitely something that we need to look at here. I'm surprised, granted, it is fairly early in the week, that Wiggins doesn't have another tight end on his roster right now, just in case Kittle isn't able to go, or in case he's just out there as a decoy. So one of the things I really wanted to zero in on with Nick's team is the flex position, something that's new for the Gustavo Cup this year. How do we determine if a wide receiver, a running back, a tight end is going to go in that spot, especially considering that we're a PPR league? And it's interesting, DeAndre Swift, he has starting right now in that flex spot. He has Johnson on the bench. He has Sky Moore on the bench. He has Quentin Johnson on the bench as well. What are your thoughts about that? How do you, as a two-time champion, uh, look at that flex spot, and how do you potentially add players to that flex?
What I'm using that flex spot for is I'm trying to make sure that I have flexibility when it comes towards the end of the week. So, I don't think I have anybody playing tonight, but if I have anybody playing on a Thursday, I have David Montgomery going tonight. So I wouldn't have him in my flex position ever, because I can get him in the running back position. And then if things were to happen later on in the week, I have flexibility where I can play a running back or a receiver in that flex spot. As far as does it matter if you play a running back or a receiver? We have half point PPR, so I feel like it's an even playing field for both positions. Nick and Steven both have a running back in that flex spot for this week. So I don't feel like that matters. I think you just play your matchups.
Absolutely.
Nick's got DeAndre Swift in there against New England. Historically, not a great matchup, a running back against New England. And Steven has Alexander Madison against Tampa Bay. Also, historically, not a good matchup, but who knows? It's week one. All these teams are essentially brand new.
Absolutely. If you were in Nick's position, who are you starting in that flex spot?
In Nick's position, I'm probably starting Deontay Johnson in that flex spot. But
Even against that SF secondary?
yeah, that's going to come at the caveat that I'm out on DeAndre Swift this year. So that's what I would do. I think DeAndre Swift's probably the second choice. Sky Moore, you really don't know what he's going to be yet. Jerick McKinnon could have a big week with Kelsey injured. He could be the short yardage target guy. But I'm probably going Deontay Johnson in that flex spot for Nick. if it's my
That's
choice, which obviously it's not.
gotcha. And then, of course, the $1 million question: who do you like in this week's matchup between Wiggins and Lance?
I'm gonna take Nick. I'm gonna take the guy that does it every year.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Nick's team as well. I just think that overall the balance that he has. Yeah, so one matchup that I want to look at is our projected highest points total of the week with Ralph,
Ralph.
a a plus draft grade, crim Dutch creamy Dutch Gouda. Solid overall team. Chase Goodwin in the receiving core. Solid running backs in Jacobs and Connor. And then got Mike Evans, wide receiver, in the flex. Holding on to Kamara when he comes back from suspension. And then, of course, we got Hurts at the quarterback with Deshaun Watson riding the bench as well. Overall, great team. Obviously, Ralph is a perennial contender every single year. I think that he drafted great. I'm excited to see what his team does this year, and I think that he is, looking good this week against Kyle.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Having that top three, what top four pick? Where did Ralph pick? Ralph picked fourth. Having that fourth pick and Jamar Chase falling to him there, I think that's a great bet. Or I mean, that gives him a huge advantage at receiver. Um, I have seen several sites that have Austin Eckler projected as the number one running back this week. So there could be a point total there for Kyle that could help him out a lot in this week's matchup. And yeah, I think then now you look at Ralph, he's got Tyler Higbee. That Cooper Cup injury could lead to a lot of targets for Tyler Higbee. So but I think it's going to be a lot closer than Yahoo is saying. Yahoo's got it at 115 to 107 essentially. And I think it's going to be closer than that. I think Kyle's team is pretty sneaky. Justin Fields out there, that guy's going to run. A little concerned with Jalen Waddle. I don't know what his injury is. But if he's not in, then I don't know what Kyle does at receiver. He's got Michael Thomas or Nico Collins. I mean, Michael Thomas hasn't played football in what, like 2.5 years, 3 years, and Nico Collins is just a guy in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. If Waddle can't go, it's going to be interesting to see what Kyle does this week. To the Fields discussion, I think Fields is going to be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy this year, getting it done in both the air and on his feet. I think he's going to be fun to watch this year. They've added more targets. They've rebuilt that offensive line out in Chicago. Let's see what the kid can do. I'm not saying that Chicago is going to make a run, but I do think in terms of fantasy football, Fields is definitely going to be someone to keep your eye on this year. Another interesting
Yeah.
thing, once again, it is early in the week, but how do you feel about Goodwin and Evans being in the starting lineup for Ralph? Two wide receivers, both at Tampa Bay, new quarterback. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the new quarterback thing is a little bit scary to me. If it was my team, but he got them both kind of late in the draft. I think it was like the sixth and seventh rounds. And then Minnesota's secondary was awful last year, just terrible. So I don't think it's bad to have both those guys going up against a bad secondary in a game they're probably going to be losing. So they're going to be throwing the ball. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think he's got solid matchups there. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, the one that scares me on his team is James Conner. That Arizona team's going to be terrible.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and going against the Washington defense that's got a really good defensive line, that would scare me a little bit. But with Kamara being suspended, I think he's his best option still. So,
Absolutely. There is a depth issue at wide receiver on Ralph's team, I think
yeah,
personally.
he doesn't have any.
Um, yeah. So I know that holding on to Kamara for later on in the season is definitely going to pay dividends. but it is a roster spot. Also, I don't really understand holding on to or giving a roster spot to Dalton Kincaid here, especially with Higbee pretty much going to get the start every week over Kincaid. I'm not sure that I would be holding on to Kincaid when there's potentially other uh, wide receivers out there that he can roster right now.
I mean, that depends on what you believe about Kincaid. He's a rookie, so typically rookie tight ends don't perform very well. But everything that I had heard out of Buffalo was they're basically using him like a receiver. So if they use him like a receiver, that could be a steal and totally worth holding on to. And I mean, you'll find out real fast whether that's the case. So through week one, I
Absolutely.
don't mind it at all. If he puts up low point totals and keeps putting up low point totals, I would expect Ralph to move on from him pretty quickly. Okay, so we got your matchup with Mishloff here. Um, Mishloff got hit hard with that Cooper Cup injury. They already announced that he's out, so I mean that is a big hit. You have the Terry McLaurin injury, which isn't as big as Cooper Cup. You took McLaurin probably fourth, fifth round. And you guys are close in the projected totals. It's going to be interesting to see if Mishloff's team can overcome that Cooper Cup hit. It's a big hit. The guy's a stud.
Yeah, the guy's a stud. I think it is a big hit, especially I think he got him in the first round, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so he got him in the first round. Uh, and so we got Mostert starting in that flex spot. We actually moved him up to RB2 and then
Yeah, he's
just
got
thrown
Dotson in the flex spot.
Dotson in the flex. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how these quarterbacks perform. Josh Allen, obviously on my team. Trevor Lawrence, I think that Trevor Lawrence, for where he was being drafted at, has enormous upside and value. One of those guys that I think has potential to be a top five QB over the next couple of years, if not this year. Yeah, so I'm excited for tonight because Mixoff obviously has St. Brown going for Detroit. I have Pacheco with KC. It's going to be interesting to see because of KC's backfield. We know that there is shared carries there. I know that there's been some talk about Pacheco and some injuries in the offseason. We're going to see how it plays out. Excited to see what we got going there, though.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. And you get to find out early. You get to find out tonight and see if he's back healthy and if he's got control of that backfield. I like Mishloff having the Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley stack. It's going to be fun to watch as well. Yeah, it's going to be a good matchup between the two of y'all. And like you said, you're excited about Juwan Johnson, so I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be fun to watch.
Jawan Johnson, everything that I read about him from coaches to fellow players, they say he looks like a wide receiver in a tight end position. Him and Carr have great chemistry. This is the reason why I dropped my 10th round pick for him pretty early on in the week. I expect great things of Jawan Johnson, potentially a top 10 tight end this year. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yep.
What do you think about you think I should keep rolling with I'm Ron Burgundy? It's time for a change, right?
I you're talking about your team name? I don't know,
Yeah.
man. If
I
if you
mean,
feel like it's time for a change, it's probably time for a change.
yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. We'll see. Team
I
names, I think that the value of a team name is just incredible, especially early on in the year.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
All right. So what are you saying? Who do you like out of Mishloff and I?
Out of the two of you, I am going to go with I'm going to go with you on this one. I like Josh Allen on Monday night. It's going to be a tough matchup with the Jets, but I think he's going to come through in the bright lights pretty big. And I mean, you're healthy, and you got all of your picks where he's missing that Cooper Cup pick, which would be a lot of points for him. So I'm going to go with you on this
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with myself as well. There's some weeks where I know it's going to be really, really tough. I think we all do. We know when we're going to have a really tough matchup. I think that week one, it's definitely going to be a tough matchup for Sloth and I. However, I think that Allen, like you said on Monday night, I'm excited to see how Williams does against Miami. And then, of course, my number one overall pick, McCaffrey at Pittsburgh. I think that our
Yeah.
offense, the Niners offense, is going to revolve around him, catching out of the backfield, running out of the backfield. They're going to have him lined up in the slot. They're going to ride the coattails of McCaffrey to the Super Bowl. And yeah, it's gonna be, if he puts up under 20, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Both, both under 20, you're going to be disappointed. So you want him to go 4 points over his projections. Okay.
Absolutely. So let's take a
Okay.
look at let's take a
Next
look at your
matchup.
matchup for the week. Yeah, so we got you against Jeremy. Um, yeah, so I queued in on this matchup. Both you guys don't have the highest projections this week. A lot of that has
Nope.
to do
Down
with
at the
just
bottom.
overall matchups and the fact that you both went pretty late with quarterbacks, which as we know, Yahoo projection doesn't account for everything. And Jones versus Geno Smith, both quarterbacks that I think are going to do very, very good this year, but still aren't getting the respect from the Yahoo projection team that I think that they deserve. But let's run through your team real quick. I love, and I think you may have the best wide receiving core in the league. Diggs, Adams. Check out your bench
Definitely,
wide receivers.
definitely my
Brown,
top three with
Bingo.
Diggs, Adams, and Amari Cooper. Um, the Hollywood Brown is probably it's now my least favorite pick that I made. Um, with Kyler starting on the pup and with him now with a hamstring injury, I just rough times there. I could have taken Trevor Lawrence instead of Hollywood Brown. I think that would have been a much better pick, and I'd be a lot more comfortable at my quarterback position. But I really like Mark. I got Mark Andrews at tight end. I'm really big on him this year, and I think that having him with those two big receivers, Diggs and Devontae Adams, is going to be hopefully going to anchor me and propel me to some W's this season.
Gosh, so what's going on with Andrews and his limited availability
Oh,
in practice?
it was really weird. They kept it as an undisclosed injury for what 2 weeks, and then they just came out today and said it was a quad injury, which makes me feel a little bit worse about it. If they had come out and said he just sprained his wrist or something, I would feel a lot better than a tissue injury. But it's what it is. By the time I drafted him, I didn't know he was hurt. And then the following week, I think they came out and said, "Oh, he's missing practice now."
But still top three, top four tight end in the league. Him, Lamar
Yeah, with
Jackson.
with one of the few people that has potential to be the number one tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how Kelsey's health is. But I would not be surprised if Andrews took over in terms of fantasy points, that top tight end spot this year. Him and Lamar just have amazing chemistry. And with that rebuilt offensive line, we'll see how it plays out. Take a quick look at Jeremy's team. Also, really solid wide receiving core. Hill, who I think is probably the most electric player in the NFL currently.
Yeah,
Um, also, Metcalf Geno combo. We love that. We love to see that, right? Dual points every time
yeah.
they score.
I love the stacks. It's always fun.
I
It's nice to
love the
have.
stats and taking a little bit of risk with Hopkins in the flex. We'll see. New team, new quarterback, undeniable talent though.
Yeah, but getting older, new team, new system. We'll see how that goes for him. He decided to go and make a playoff having two Hopkins, so he changed his name to Hopkins and Hopkins.
Love that.
Unlike unlike Mark earlier with the Justin and Justin, but didn't want to make the move. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
man, so
I
Jeremy,
know how you feel. I know how you feel about kickers. So to incorporate a kicker's name into your team name is a little surprising.
I mean, Kickers are so dumb. They're so pointless. But everybody, well, sorry, not everybody. The majority of the league wants to keep him, so we'll keep him until I can convince y'all otherwise. The funny thing about being matched up with Jeremy this week is we were drafting right next to each other, and I didn't realize until like just past the midway point of the draft that him and I were using the same cheat sheet. We were using
Wow.
the Fantasy Footballers Ultimate Draft Kit. So I'm wondering why Jeremy keeps sniping all my picks, and I go over and he's using the same sheet as me. I'm like, no wonder you're sniping all my picks. We're working off the same list.
God. Well, that's
Yeah,
that's
it was
fun.
like a
That's always fun.
yeah, it was like a gut punch. I was like, oh man, if I had known that earlier, I would have tried to zig while you were zagging.
All right. So, who do you like this week?
In my matchup,
Oh yeah, in your matchup.
oh, I'm never gonna pick against myself. I pick me.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I will say a few things. Number one, so I love your wide receiving core. I think that it's going to be a really, really balanced matchup in terms of both your wide receivers. So that leads me to your running backs. I am not huge on Cam Akers, especially after how he ended last season. Well,
Well,
actually
what do you mean
ended
how he ended last season?
sorry, mid season, being benched, being apart from the team for several weeks, having personal issues, then coming back, finishing actually kind of strong in the last couple of weeks,
He
but
balled out in the last couple of weeks. He was like a top five
balled
running back.
balled out while playing against second stringers. A lot of the teams that he played, especially in his division, were already prepping for, well, the 49ers at least, were prepping for the playoffs. Um, so he was playing against second team players, second team defenses when he balled out, as you said. But I've heard different things coming from Rams camp. I'm hoping, well, I'm hoping he has a good season, but we'll see. There's a huge question mark for me with Akers. Also, Montgomery, right? New to Detroit. Um, that is a running back by committee down in Detroit, but we will get a good view of what he's doing tonight on Thursday. So we'll see. I'm hoping he does have a good game. I'm hoping that he is able to catch out of the backfield. I'm hoping that they're able to use him. I'm actually going to go with Jeremy this week. I think that he just has the nod on you when it comes to the running backs. I think that while you have probably the best wide receiving core in the league, he's not far behind with Metcalf, Hill, and Hopkins if Hopkins does perform. It's going to be close. I think it may come down to quarterbacks. And I think that Geno Smith is just better than Jones right now in terms of the talent that he has around him in the wide receiving core and their matchup, right? So we got the Rams, who we know are, uh, their defense has suffered on the offseason and last year against Daniel Jones in Dallas. And we know those Dallas New York Giants matchups can be intense. Dallas is going to be after him. I just give the nod barely to Jeremy with this one.
That makes sense to me, man. If it wasn't me, I might give that same nod to Jeremy. What you didn't discuss was I got that Washington defense going against probably the worst offense in the league in Arizona.
Yeah, that actually is, we've seen defenses win weeks for players. We've seen and also the lack of defense lose weeks for players as well. But with that being said, that Philadelphia defense against that New England offense, um, you know, is
That
no matchup to not look at either. I definitely
that's a
think you have the
brand
nod.
new New England offense. They got a new offensive coordinator. I mean, they don't have any receivers, but Ramondre Stevenson, as you know, is really good running back.
Absolutely, I had him last year. Also,
And
was a
you're playing
big
against them
reason.
this week.
Yeah, also a big reason why, I made that run into the playoffs last year. So we got a
All
couple of
right.
more matchups to zero in
Nope,
on.
we got the last matchup.
This is the last one.
This
Got
is the last
Evan.
one. We got Evan versus Mark
Evan versus Evan's waterlogged. What is his
That's
name?
Mark. That's Mark Amundsen's team. Evans is for Brow.
Autolog full phone. Interesting. Yeah, I used to change my team name based off who I was playing every week. I think I may bring that back as well. I like Mark's strategy here. Intimidation of the rookie. I think it's awesome. And we
I
have
think that
obviously
was. I think he's still using Bizzo's team name. But I mean, yeah, he's going against Evans, so why not go for it?
exactly. And then Evan, obviously, paying respect for two Brow. Love to see that. Solid pitcher as well right there. Look at our boy driving the boat.
Yeah,
Awesome. So what are some points you want
yeah.
to zero in with this matchup?
I mean, Evan, rough thing happened right after the draft. Jonathan Taylor to the pup, so he's missing his third round draft pick for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Um, we used clicky drafts ADP for Brad's team, now Mark's team. So he's got Kelsey, who might not play this week. I saw right as we were starting this up, he went and picked up Greg Dulcich. Um, and then he's also got Jerry Judy, who might not play this week. So he's missing a couple players. Um, it looks like it's going to be a pretty close matchup. We'll see how Joe Burrow comes back from that preseason injury. Um, it's gonna be. I mean, it's week one. You really never know what's going to happen. But Bijan Robinson out there for Evan. I don't know. I This one actually has me a little confused. They're projected the two lowest scoring teams in the league this week, so good on them playing each other this week.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of questions, a lot of question marks with this matchup here. I'll start over on Evan's team. I do love the Wilson pick. I know that there's been a lot of chemistry that's been developed up in New York with the Jets. So I do love that Wilson pick. Also, got to keep an eye on that Burrow pick with the injuries in the offseason. Jared Judy being out pays dividends for Sutton as the WR2 down in Denver. We'll see how Robinson does. That top rookie running back out in Atlanta. However, he is number 3 on the depth chart. So you have Aguilar. You have some guys in front of him. So we'll see how that plays out as well.
he's
And then
he's not number 3 on the depth chart.
that's what they have him listed as. I know that,
Okay.
I know that he's going to carry the majority of the workload when it comes to the running back core. However, according to their depth chart, which they released today, he is number 3 on the depth chart. Maybe a little
Yeah,
bit of rookie hate there, but we shall see.
that's just dumb coach stuff where they're like, oh, the rookie can't start, and he'll be in there on play 2 and just be a stud.
That's what I'm hoping for. I was high on that guy. He was someone that I was targeting in the draft. Unfortunately, didn't swing my way, but I am still high on Robinson.
Yeah, I was
Seattle
targeting
running.
him in the draft too. I didn't get to pick early enough.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Um, So we have also at running back the Seattle backfield, Charbonnet. It's going to be tough, man, because we know that they are sharing carries there. You have some other great running backs in
Yeah,
Seattle.
they got two Seattle running backs matched up against each other in this matchup.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting, um, and we got Mooney down at wide receiver in the flex. Yeah, this is going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'll just be honest with the injuries to both of these teams. I'm not expecting the highest point totals this week from either one of these teams. Looking
Neither is Yahoo.
looking at Mark's team, obviously Kirk Cousins, we know that he can win. So we'll see how he does against that Tampa Bay defense. AJ Brown, weather can be a concern in New England. They're going to be targeting in on him with that secondary, but they can make magic. Him and Hurts together can make magic. And then obviously his wide receiving core, Brandon Ayuk. While him and Debo are definitely going to be battling for that wide receiver 1 spot, I'm excited to see how Brandon does this year. I think that he has a ton of upside. out of that slot. Sneaky fast. And we'll see. We'll see how him and Purdy's chemistry goes.
Yeah, I was listening to something earlier today, and they were talking about how he's only had good games when Debo Samuel wasn't in the lineup. So we'll see if they can get that together and get some chemistry going where they can actually play well when they're both in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see more of those um, different spread offenses that Shanahan is known for. I want to see them move Ayuk around a little bit. I want to see him in the backfield. I want to see him in the slot. I want to see him moved around more because he is a great offensive target. If they use him more like they use Debo, I think that that's going to pay dividends for the Niners and for this pick.
All right. So who are you picking in this one?
I'm going with Mark in this one. I think that I think there's a lot of question marks around Barrow. I think there's a lot of question marks around the running back core that he has going. Um, and overall, I like Walker over Charbonnet. I like AJ Brown over Wilson, and then the intangibles, the defenses and kickers. I also like Mark to have the nod here.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with Evan here. I think that Travis Kelce injury is massive. I don't think you plug in Greg Dulcich and make up that kind of points. So I'm going to go with Evan. Joe Burrow playing against Cleveland, even if he's not 100%, he can still put up numbers against Cleveland. Garrett Wilson on Monday night. Cortland Sutton with Jerry Jeudy possibly out, and so he would be the number one out there. And then I feel like Darnell Mooney and Gabe Davis are the same player. I mean, they're both just really fast guys that if they catch one or two and spring one for a touchdown, then there you go. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm going to go with Evan on this one. So
Nice.
yeah, the only other thing we have is I have the little draft notes here where I went by and talked to everybody. The video was a little shaky. I was quite intoxicated when we did this. I also hadn't slept much the night before, so I was kind of off. But let's just go through it real quick. We got pick one was Mark Bridge. He had the Fantasy Pros cheat sheet. His favorite pick was Jameer Gibbs with in round one or round three, pick one. His least favorite pick was Khalil Herbert in round seven, pick one. Then you were the number two pick, and you had a custom cheat sheet. When I talked to you draft night, your favorite pick was Jordan Addison in round eight, pick 11. And your least favorite pick was Josh Allen, round two, pick 11. Is that still the same?
My strategy going into the week was not to draft quarterback high. When Josh Allen fell into my lap, I let my intrusive thoughts win, and I picked him. Um, I could have had more depth at the wide receiver position if I held out. But it is what it is at this point, and I got to ride with it. But yeah, that is still my favorite and least favorite picks that I've made.
Okay. And then next we had Kyle Kiesel at pick three. He was using a fantasy magazine. I don't know which one.
This guy's old school. Guy
Old
still
school.
runs it old school. Old school. Gotta love it.
His favorite pick was Justin Fields, round four, pick 10. And his least favorite pick was Austin Eckler, round one, pick three. I don't know how you picked number three overall, and your least
He
favorite pick
fucking hates the
is the guy you
Chargers.
picked in the first round.
Despises the Chargers.
I know that. But then, I mean, there's plenty of good players out there. Why pick the Charger?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why he didn't go with Chase, but instead he went with Eckler.
Pick number four was Ralph Jackson. He had Fantasy Pros. His favorite pick was Jalen Hurts in round three, pick four. His least favorite pick was Chris Godwin, round six, pick nine. Stephen Wiggins, pick number five. He was using a cheat sheet he got from Mark Bridge. I'm going to assume it was the Fantasy Pros cheat sheet. Steven actually said favorite pick was Kerry Kittle, round 7, pick 5, and he meant George Kittle. Kerry Kittle's his basketball player who's long retired. Um, his least favorite pick was Zeke, and round 10, pick 8. Evan Fothergill, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I don't know what he was using. He wasn't able to make it. He was the only person that wasn't able to make it to the draft live. And so because he didn't make it, I'm going to just go ahead and give my favorite pick for his. My favorite pick was Bijan, round 1, pick 6. And my least favorite pick was Jonathan Taylor, round 3, pick 6.
Was that your least favorite before the news came out or after the news came out?
Oh, after the news came out. I would have to dig into it to see what my least favorite one before. Before the news came out, I would have to go and look at it. But yeah, after the news came out, I was like, well, Jonathan Taylor is obviously the worst pick there. Bizzo's team was next. We used the Clicky Draft ADP for his team, and Mark's going to be running it. Not going to do a least favorite pick for his team. It wasn't really any of us picking. Sean Mishloff was pick 8, custom cheat sheet. His favorite pick was Cooper Cup, round 1, pick 8. I'll bet you that's changed since then. His least favorite pick was Kyle Pitts, round 8, pick 5.
Kyle
Nick
Pitts.
Lance
Let's see how he does this year.
Kyle Pitts. Yep. You love him or you hate him. Pretty much, if you haven't had him on your team, you love him. If you hate him, if you have. Nick Lance had pick 9. He was using ESPN cheat sheet. His favorite pick was CeeDee Lamb, round 2, pick 4. And his least favorite pick was Deontay Johnson, round 6, pick 4. Jeremy Ochoa, Fantasy Footballers, UDK. He was pick 10. His favorite pick was DeAndre Hopkins, round 5, pick 10. And his least favorite pick was Juju, round 11, pick 10. I was pick 11. I was also using the Fantasy Footballers UDK. My favorite pick was Mark Andrews, round 3, pick 11. And my least favorite pick was Hollywood Brown, round 5, pick 11. And then finishing it off was Mike Medina. He had a custom cheat sheet as well. His favorite pick was Derrick Henry, round 2, pick 1. And his least favorite pick was Tua, round 9, pick 12.
Nice.
Yeah,
awesome,
it was fun going around and getting that from everybody. Even when you all started yelling because I asked Ralph during his pick.
Yeah, we got to figure out a new punishment for Ralph with the time that he spends between picks. I think that a shot is just encouraging him at this point.
And we gotta make sure we get on that clock early. I didn't start the clock until too late. And I only started it because Steven was taking forever and then refused to take a shot because he was like, oh, there's no clock, so I don't have to do it. At least
Dude,
Ralph, if we told him he took too long, he took a shot.
True. What were you drinking at the draft? Because you were fucking hammered.
Well, I was hammered. I was drinking the San Diego ales that Kyle brought.
Okay.
But also, I mean, I woke up here it was 4 a.m. here when I had to leave to catch my flight. So it's 2 a.m. out in California. So essentially, I was up starting at 2 a.m. Flew out there, had 2 flights, had a layover in Denver. You picked me up and literally were like, "Here's a beer."
It's true. I did. So you definitely got off the plane and immediately started consuming alcohol.
Yeah, so I had been up for, I mean, it was still 10 a.m. and I had been up for like 8 hours already, and immediately started consuming alcohol.
I forgot. We probably had 2 drinks at Wiggins and then a couple at sushi.
We went to the Mexican restaurant before sushi.
Yeah, we pre-partied before sushi.
Yeah.
And then we got to sushi, had more drinks.
Yeah, because sushi was going to be a long wait, so we had more drinks, and then we had a couple more at sushi, and then we went back to Stevens, and I think we had one more, we just picked up the car. And then we bounced out to the cave, and we started drinking, man.
And then what are some highlights of the day? Oh, making it back to my house, you, Kyle, and Mike, uh, and I don't even know what time we crashed, but it was felt a
Uh,
little frat housey. Felt like kind of back in the day. All
yeah,
four of us kind of being a
uh,
little bit wasted,
I know
talking
we stopped
shit.
at Jack in the Box and got like 20 tacos or something.
Yeah,
And then
something along those
the next
lines.
morning, I was so hungover, man. So
Yeah,
hungover.
you were. I think I called Mike because I left early for the
Yeah,
baby
I woke
shower.
up when you left.
Yeah, it was like 6 in the
Uh,
morning.
yeah, I woke up when you left, and I had already like I wasn't feeling as bad then, but I knew I was hungover. I was like, this is gonna suck today. Um, so I knew I was hungover, but like you left, and I went back to sleep, and then I woke up, and I was just like, oh, I'm so hungover now.
Dude, none of you guys made it to the guest room. I came in the living room and all three of you guys were on the couches. I was like, it's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
And then
I
halfway
woke up. Yeah,
through,
I woke up in the middle of the night and saw it, and I was like, well, I may as well just go back to sleep on the couch. Like, there's no reason to mess up his guest room.
yeah, I text Kyle and he's like, couch so comfy. I was like, go in the room. He's like, couch so comfy. And then halfway through the baby shower, I get a call from Mike Medina because my cat Bill has pissed on his bag.
Yeah, and shit in the house too, and Kyle stepped on it.
I forgot in my drunken stupor, I forgot to leave the patio door open where I put her where the litter is at. So
Yeah,
yeah, she didn't. She was confused as fuck. Ah,
yeah, pretty funny stuff. And then yeah, I was in draft day. I was just so tanked, man. It was not. Next time, I got to make sure that I eat enough before I get out there. Because if you pick me up, I mean, we're gonna start drinking immediately again. So I got to make sure I get some food in me and get enough rest because the 2 hours of sleep or whatever I got the night before, and then flying out, I was trying to set up the draft board, and I was just like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what's happening right now.
awesome,
I
awesome.
left you guys partying in the other room, and I went to go just try to figure it out, and I was just like stumbling through it. Like, I don't know what's. Like, I was so tired and so drunk. I was just like, this is not okay.
Yeah, so I think that we'll kind of work out the kinks with that for next year. But
Yeah.
I think it went smooth for the most part. I like the digital board, makes things a little bit easier, a little bit
We're
faster.
going back to the paperboard with the stickers next year.
Is
What
that what we're
everybody
doing?
wants.
Going back to the stickers. Okay.
We're going back to the stickers. That's what the people want. That's what they'll get. What you got going on this weekend? What are you excited for this weekend, other than the start of NFL football?
I am fucking painting my nursery, the nursery.
Oh,
So I gotta send you some pictures, but uh pulled up all that laminate, pulled up, all of the old carpet and everything, putting in new carpet next week, everything stripped down. Yeah, so I am this is the deal that I made with my wife. I said, you're gonna get me for 3 hours on Thursday, 3 hours on Friday, 8 hours on Saturday, and just leave me alone Sunday. So and not too long from now I'm gonna go start painting. I'm hoping to have it finished by Saturday so that I have just a peaceful, uh unfiltered Sunday where I can just enjoy football. That's what I'm doing.
there you go. There you go.
What you got going? What you got going?
I'm about to go. I'm actually going to head out right now and go meet up with Minty downtown.
Nice.
We're going to go check out a speakeasy, that same one that we went with you, here nor there.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we're going to go
I
check
have a
that out.
membership. I got a membership there now.
Yeah, I know
I
you did.
signed up for like something. I'll forward you the last email they sent me. Maybe you can use it for. I think there's like some discounts in there.
Yeah, and then tomorrow night I got a concert, the Generationals.
Nice.
Uh, Saturday night gonna have the UT Alabama game, and then Sunday football, man.
You guys are gonna get slaughtered by Alabama.
Probably, but that doesn't mean I can't be helpful, and I
No,
can't root on
absolutely.
UT. Hook 'em
You
horns, baby.
tell You tailgating or you doing that at home?
No, no, it's in Alabama. So well, I think
Okay,
we're gonna
gotcha.
go downtown and go to a sports bar and check it out. But I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do yet. But definitely
Fun
gonna be
stuff.
watching the game.
Fun stuff. Fun stuff. All right, brother. Well, thank you
All
so
right, man.
much, and
Yeah,
we
it's
hope you
been
all
good.
enjoy this.
Yep.